Now in the name of our loving, liberating, and life-giving God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, good evening, New York. It is a joy, a privilege, and just as the old slaves would say, a great getting up morning, to be with you this evening on this occasion commemorating the 125th anniversary of the laying of the cornerstone of this sacred place. I want to thank your bishops, my brothers and sisters. Thank your dean, my brother, for their gracious welcome. Bishop Dici, Bishop Shin, Bishop Glasspool, and Bishop Daniel, dean of this cathedral. I thank them, and they are dear colleagues, brothers and sisters and friends, and all of the clergy and people, and all of the people of God who have gathered here tonight. Now, Bishop Dici, I must tell you, this by way of confession, I'm going to steal this choir. They're going to have to come with me. It is a joy to be here tonight, and I hope you're glad to be here. It's good to be here. It is good. Allow me, if you will, then, to offer as a text the words of Jesus found in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5, from the Sermon on the Mount. And this is what Jesus says. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of our Father in heaven. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, so that you may become children of our Father in heaven. Dr. Martin Luther King said it this way: we shall either learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we will perish together as fools. The choice, my friends, is ours: chaos or community. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Love your friends. Love. I've got a simple message. Love is not a way. It is not one way. The way of love, it is the only way. It is the only way to end the chaos, to end the nightmare, and to realize God's dream. Now, I'm old enough now that I pay attention to the reports from the church pension fund. And along with some age has come some things that have dawned on me in my later years that didn't dawn on me in earlier ones. It's occurred to me, and I don't think I'm wrong on this, that God came among us in the person of Jesus, not really to start a new religion. I mean, that's nice, but that's not, I mean, why would God go through all that trouble just to start another religion? No, God didn't come among us in the person of Jesus for that. God came among us in the person of Jesus of Nazareth to show us the way. He came in the footsteps of the ancient Hebrew prophets to show us the way to be right and reconciled with the God and the creator of us all. He came to show us the way to be right and reconciled with each other as children of the one God who is creator of us all. In so doing, you see what's going on? He came to show us the way to be reconciled with the God who made us and with each other as children of that one God. He came to show us how to become the human family of God and not simply the human race. He came to show us how to become more than simply a collection of individualized self-interest. He came to show us the way out of the chaos into God's beloved community. He came to show us how to become the human family of God. Think about it for a second. Being a member of the human race is a good thing. I remember in college reading, I think it was Kafka, about this dude who went to sleep one night and woke up, I think Metamorphosis. He woke up a cockroach the next day. I want to wake up a human being. Being a human being is a good thing. But don't misunderstand, please don't get upset with what I'm about to say. But being a member of the human race is not that much of an accomplishment. I mean, the truth is, you didn't do anything. All you did was show up. And your parents had a little bit to do with it. But the truth is, they didn't really have everything to do with it. The truth is, being a member of the human race is mere biology. And that's a good thing. It's a point of departure, but it's not the destination. Think about it. I remember from biology in 8th grade and then high school and then later college, I remember learning and studying that members of the human race are part of the animal world. We're not insects, right? We're not plants. We're part of the animal world. And living things who are part of the animal world have certain salient characteristics that among them are 3: respiration, consumption, and reproduction. We breathe, we eat, and we make more of our own kind. My wife has 2 cats who can do those 3 things. Actually, they can only do 2. They've been to the vet. You see what I'm saying? That's just a matter of biology. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is a place to start, but it is not the destination, if you will. It's not where we're going. And Jesus actually said that in one of his teachings. He said, is not life more than food? The body more than clothing? Of course you need food. Of course you need clothing. But is not life more than food, more than clothing, more than acquiring? Isn't it more than that? Look at the lilies of the field, the birds of the air. You're of more value than even those priceless creatures of God. My grandma used to like to sing that old song, I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. Because his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. No, being a member of the human race is a good thing, but it is only the point of departure, not the destination. Jesus of Nazareth came to show us the way to live life in its fullness, life as God intended. He said, I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. Not life you can barter for on eBay. Not life as the world gives it to you. But life saturated with eternity. Life filled with dignity. Life lived with integrity. Life that not even the titanic power of death can take away from you. Jesus came to show us how to live. He came to show us how to live together. He came to show us how to become the human family of God. And that, my friends, is our hope and salvation. Now, I know it's probably easy to think, this sounds good, preacher, but is it practical? Love your enemies? Bless those who curse you? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love your neighbor? Hey, I know somebody here is saying, preacher, this sounds nice in church, but can it work out there? Well, let me tell you something. I've been around a little while, and the opposite of the way of love does not work. It's just over a year ago or so, I received a phone call from the Bishop of Virginia, and he asked if I would come and be with Episcopalians and other Christian people and other people of other faiths and people of goodwill. And I told him I would come to be with them in Charlottesville, Virginia, barely 2 weeks after that fateful weekend when young Heather became another martyr for the cause. I went to Charlottesville not for a publicity tour, but to listen, to just be present, and to be of some support for the people who have been living with Klansmen and Nazis walking through their streets. Who can forget Nazis in America with tiki torches in hands, shrieking hatred? Jews will not replace us? Who can forget hooded Klansmen in America, 21st century America? I remember when my uncles went to, I don't remember, but I remember them talking about going to war. They were proud to have fought in the Second World War. They were proud to have fought fascism of Nazis. They were proud to stand for an America that stood for what is good and what is right and what is just. I remember my grandma with their pictures in their Army Air Corps uniforms. I remember the stories, probably exaggerated, of their heroism on behalf of our country. But I remember how proud they were. I remember they felt they helped to end a form of tyranny. And here in America, a synagogue is attacked in Pittsburgh. Here in America, children of God are killed, gay children of God. We buried, interred the remains of Matthew Shepard, a young man, a gay man, lynched in America. You want to talk to me about the power of love? Look at the horror of hate. I believe in an America. I believe in an America who welcomes the homeless in her borders. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble now. I believe in America that does not separate children from their mothers. I believe in America that the Statue of Liberty, that is America. Give me your tired, your homeless, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Oh, I believe in that America. And oh, de Tocqueville was so right in the 19th century when he said, and I'm not making any political statements here, because old de Tocqueville said it in the 19th century. He said, and I quote, if America would be great, America must be good. That's the America I believe in. And let me tell you, that is an America that is not ashamed to be defined as a nation grounded in the principle, you must love your neighbor as yourself. I was born in 1953. I grew up on Romper Room, Captain Kangaroo, Mighty Mouse, here I come to save the day. And I grew up on the television Superman, and it was a little hokey. But you remember the tagline, Superman in red, white, and blue stood for truth, justice, and the American way. The American way is about truth. Let there be truth again in our land. The American way is about justice. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. The American way is about love your neighbor as yourself. No matter who your neighbor is, it means, oh, I'm going to get in trouble now. It means some Democrats. Oh, church, hear me now. Some Democrats, you're going to have to love a Republican. Yeah, and some Republicans, you're going to have to love a Democrat. And independents, you can go either way you want, but you got to love somebody. The truth is, when I got to Charlottesville, and after listening to the stories, I realized that that night, those neo-Nazis were marching to an Episcopal church. They were marching to St. Paul's Church in Charlottesville because St. Paul's Church was hosting an ecumenical and interfaith service as a witness to the way of love. And the sheriffs had to protect the Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Muslims, agnostics, atheists, people of all stripes and types who were brought together by love. And what the neo-Nazis feared the most was the power of that love. Don't underestimate it. Don't misunderstand it. It is the way. It is the only way. When I went off to college, my daddy, we were in the car, and I guess he decided to have a father-son talk. I was, 17 maybe? I didn't want to hear it, but anyway, I was in the car, I couldn't get out. And he proceeded to say to me, I want you to remember one thing when you go off to school. And I said, what's that, Daddy? I want you to remember to treat every girl the way you want somebody else to treat your sister. I remember thinking, that's nice advice, but you just ruined 4 years. Because I had plans. I was going to be away from him and Grandma. They weren't going to be around. I was going to be the new Michael. I was just going to... But I knew what he was talking about because he used to say it when we were kids. Treat every girl the way you want somebody else to treat your sister because that girl is your sister. Treat every boy the way you want somebody else to treat your brother because that boy is your brother. Treat every woman the way you want somebody to treat your mother because she is your mother. Every man like you want somebody to treat your father because he is. Treat them like members of your family. Show them love, respect, honor, and dignity, and then work for a society where every man, woman, and child is a child of God, equal in the eyes of God and equal in the eyes of the law. Then we'll have a world where children don't go to bed hungry. Then we'll have a world where equality is not just a word, but the watchword. Then we'll have a world where maybe we'll learn to lay down our swords and shields down by the riversides to study war no more. Love is not just a way. It's the only way. Jesus was right. The prophets were right. The scriptures are true. And love can heal our hurts. It can bind us together. And love can make that new heaven and that new earth just as St. John the Divine beheld long ago on the Isle of Patmos. And one last thing, and then I'm going to sit down. This way of love can make us a family. And we may be dysfunctional, but it can make us family. And the truth is, it can help us to become who God made us to be in the first place. Some years ago, I was a young priest in Cincinnati, Ohio, early 1980s. And I got a letter in the mail, and it was that old dot matrix. Remember, some of y'all remember dot matrix print from the early 80s. And I opened the letter, and inside the letter said, and I quote, "Dear Michael Curry, we have traced your ancestry, and we are now able to provide you with a family crest and a family tree for a small fee. If you will provide us with your Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or American Express, we will be able to provide you with your family crest and your family tree. So that you might know, we have traced the Curry ancestry to Ireland." Ireland. Ireland. And so I have to admit, at the time, I just kind of laughed it off. I didn't, I didn't make too much of it. And so I forgot all about it. And then a few years later, actually a number of years later, on June 26, 2007, I was reading the New York Times, and there was an article in the Times that said, and I quote, "DNA research now points to a common maternal ancestor of all anatomically upright human beings." And I said, well, maybe I ought to go to Ireland and say, guess who's coming to dinner? Just kind of show up. And then to make matters worse, our youngest daughter, went on and got the swab, and she sent in for her thing. And a good portion of the family is kind of various places in West Africa. That was no surprise. Then she had like 3% Polynesian. I looked at my wife. I said, don't look at me. I don't know. and then she had, I think it was about 5% from the British Isles. And when it got more specific, it said Ireland. 2 weeks ago, I was in London. And I was with the Anglican Archbishop of Ireland. And I said, my brother Richard, guess what? I'm your cousin. And if that's not enough, the New England Genealogical Society a few years ago did research on the candidates running for president in 2007 and 8. And their research, and again, this is the New England Genealogical Society, this isn't the National Enquirer, this is really serious stuff. They had discovered that Barack Obama, Brad Pitt, and George Bush are cousins. And further research discerned that Hillary Rodham Clinton and the late John McCain are cousins. But the most stunning concerned, some of y'all remember the late Senator Strom Thurmond? Y'all remember Strom? You remember Strom? The late Senator Strom Thurmond and the Reverend Al Sharpton are cousins. My brothers and sisters, God made us to be family, and we will find our lives together as the human family of God. Don't you give up on love. It's the way. It's the only way. God love you. God bless you. And may God hold us all in those almighty hands of love. God bless you.